Welcome to this podcast of Elevate Your Wealth. And today we'll be talking about a few things. So, I'm going to be addressing questions which prospects ask me, and then questions which clients ask me as well. But what I'll start off with straight away are the 5 common myths about investing. And I think that's really important because lots of people have different ideas about investing. But, I'm here to debunk a few misconceptions. And, that way that would really help people get ahead, or rather actually just start to invest, Because I think one of the important things about investing is actually just getting started. I think that really holds a lot when people just start that investment journey and can really build something. So the first myth that I would like to debunk is people always think, or rather most people think, I need a lot of money to start investing. And I think that is not always the case. And, for most people, it definitely shouldn't be the case because you can start with any amount. Okay. And I think this myth comes from a misconception that investing is only for the wealthy. While the wealthy may have a lot more opportunities to actually start investing and, can pay for advice, and that is not an issue in terms of the amount they're actually looking to invest. I feel it's definitely not for the wealthy. I think everyone needs to invest, and it's important because when you start investing, you are doing a few things. Generally, you're starting to build a good habit, and I think that's a key thing for those that do not have a huge amount of dollars to invest. So one of the important things about investing is you can start off with investing in micro platforms. Okay, so there are lots of platforms out there that you can actually start with a few cents or even a few dollars, and Raise, Spaceship, and Acorns. They really allow beginners start investing with as little as $5. And as I said a few seconds ago, it really comes down to the behavior you're trying to build versus will this thing make a huge impact. It will make a huge impact long term as well. Having said that, it's more about starting that really leads to greater things. I think the good thing about all these platforms, look, generally once we sit down with clients and then we look at these platforms, they're not the cheapest, but it comes down to how much you're starting to invest as well. And a good thing about all these platforms as well is, you have access to ETFs, okay? So ETFs allow investors buy a diversified portfolio with a small initial outlay. And, that's quite important because if you're starting to invest with $5, it means you may not have as much money to go into a managed fund, but an ETF can actually help you get started. One of the things as well with starting to invest, I think the biggest thing right there is it's a mind shift. And look, I sit down with clients and different clients, those that don't have a lot to start with and those that have a lot. And, generally with those that have the right mindset, they're not focused on just the amount, but they're really focused on how do I get this money working as much as I can. So investing is definitely not waiting to have a large sum in there. It's about starting with what you have. And, with these clients, as I said, that have the different mindsets, you can just see straight away that success will be the ones with the right mindsets will generally succeed over time because that right mindset will lead them to make better decisions. And if your $5 starts to compound for you, imagine what that would be in 10, 20 years time when you have a lot more. So it's definitely important to actually start investing and actually reap the benefits of compounding. So what successful investors would say straight away, and well, I'll rephrase that. I think the question is, if you're sitting down with, or if you think about any of the, great successful investors, then I'll just throw out a few names, Warren Buffett or Ray Dalio or just anyone, would they say, well, do not invest your $5, just leave it in the bank? They'll probably encourage you to actually start investing and do it straight away. And I guess even a better test for that as well is, would they actually start investing their own money if they only had $5? And I can almost bet you the answer would be yes, they will. And, the key thing there as well is because they understand that they need to build a lot of discipline and every actual dollar counts. It goes back to the saying about penny wise, pound foolish. So, be smart with your pennies, and the pounds will definitely flow in. I know we're in Australia, so it's not about pounds and pennies, but it just rhymes. It just makes more sense there. So I think the key takeaway from that myth is, do you need a lot of money to start investing? No. Should you start investing on a small amount? Yes. You want to focus on consistency. You want to focus on getting started rather than perfection. Okay. So that is one of the myths that I hear lots of people, and I see people with the wrong mindset not doing anything about. On to the second myth. So the second one is, investing is like gambling. So I think when I hear people talk about investing related to gambling, I'm like, it's totally far away from gambling. Okay. And this myth equates to the stock market or other investments to be luck-based. Okay. And luck-based, and you're comparing these things like poker and betting. Okay. So if we're going to debunk this, what is the difference between investing and going to bet or going to play some poker? One of the key things there is, one is a calculated risk, and then the other is speculation. Okay, so for example, when we talk about speculation and gambling, results are generally unpredictable. And what that means is, generally, if you're putting it on a roulette and just choosing the number, there's no predictability there. So you have no control over outcomes. And this is generally in the short and long term. Okay. While as if you consider investing, investing generally the decisions are based on research, analysis, and key principle there as well is diversification. Comparing that to gambling. In gambling, you're probably putting your money on the on the one table or on the one number. But when you're investing and when you're doing that in a diversified portfolio, you're spreading that risk across several baskets. And what we've found is, once you spread the risk across several baskets, across several asset classes, industries, geographical locations, the long-term predictability of those funds is actually a lot easier. And we can almost say with a high degree of confidence that if you're investing in those things long term, there's a certain range of returns you can get. So, we always refer to previous ratings, or rather previous returns in the market, to actually give you some confidence. And yes, it doesn't predict the future, but it kind of helps you really understand what the market has done. So the stock market historically has delivered about 7-10% on average, and this is returns year after year after year, and decades after decades. So you do need a certain amount of time frame for those returns to actually get to a certain average and kind of stick with that. Unlike gambling as well, which typically leads to losses over the long term, as the stats show, the house always wins. Investing rewards patience and strategy. Okay. And that's why it's very important that once you invest in, you spread your risk, because if you're investing in just the one asset, then that would be very similar to betting. So I think that myth there of saying investing is very relevant to, or rather is gambling, is if you're going and putting your money on micro stocks or just choosing one stock to invest in. Okay, so I think the key takeaway from this is just to ensure that you don't relate investing to gambling. As long as you're looking at it as a diversified asset allocation and putting your money in several aspects, it is not the same as gambling. So the next myth as well is you can exactly time the market to maximize returns. And this one stems from the belief that, theory says buy low, sell high, which perfect sense in theory, but it definitely doesn't relate that way, because we only know the highs and lows in hindsight. Okay, so investors that suggest or think that they can sell high consistently and buy low because they can read the market well enough is just not true. Like even the best investors cannot do this. Okay, so debunking this myth. So the futility of market timing, research shows that missing just a few of the market's best days can drastically reduce returns. And generally, what the market does, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. So for you to actually time that, you're going to be going in and out of the market lots of times. And then that would actually lead to lots of trading cost. Okay. And you can only know that bottom in hindsight. So, it might be a few months down track. It's like, okay, that was the actual bottom. So just to give you examples from 2002 to about 2022, missing the top 10 trading days on the S&P 500 would cut your returns by half. So if you think about it, those were days generally that are preceded by downturns, because generally the market goes up on a sharp turn. One of the things to also consider when you're thinking about timing the market, volatility rewards patience. Okay, so what that means is even during significant market downturns, staying invested allows you to benefit from the recoveries. So what we've seen as well historically is that when the market drops significantly, it then is actually followed by sharp bounce backs. Okay, and that is the part where it's very hard to find, because what people end up doing is they actually sell when it's going down and then buy back when it's going up. So you've actually lost a lot of the gains that come with the market recovering. So as we've seen in the recent COVID crisis, there was a sharp fall over a few months, and then there was a sharp uptake, and very few people could time that. There are certain strategies to put in place that can actually help you take advantage of these, and it might be something simple as doing dollar cost averaging, and you can start this. I feel you should always invest this way. And even if there's a downturn, and let's assume you had some spare funds, you can actually do dollar cost averaging while the market is going down. It's not a bad idea to do things like that. I think the bad thing is when people actually want to sell when it's going down because they don't want it to reach the bottom. But it's like, well, you're already in the market, and then buy back when it's going up. So I think just to reduce the guesswork that actually comes with all these things, you can use dollar cost averaging, and that should help take away from the emotions as to actually trying to time the market. So I'll say the key takeaway is timing the market is almost impossible for anyone, including the experts. And when I say impossible, it's just you can't know the absolute bottom, you can't know the absolute top until you have until that time period has gone. So you want to focus on long-term goals, and you want to ensure you're putting in basic strategies like dollar cost averaging over a certain period of time. And even if you've done that and you don't have any funds left, you can just leave your funds, let it go up, let it go down, and over the long term, you'd actually be in a better position. So the fourth myth is I need to pay off all my debt before investing. And this is a interesting one, okay, because the myth stems from the idea that any debt, regardless of the type, should be cleared before considering investing. And I think this doesn't always make sense, okay? Because, for example, if you have smart investments, you can be in a position where those smart investments can actually work for you long term, okay? And these smart investments, you don't want to pay them off, okay? So while as if you have some bad investments, things like credit card balances or just significantly high interest investments, good or bad, you don't want to have any of those. So if we're going to debunk this, I think you definitely need to understand what is good debt and what is bad debt. And we'll also chuck in smart debt as well. So with good debt and smart debt, generally you have low interest rate or just average interest rate, okay? And, such good debts, think about debt on your investment property. Think about debt on any investments you have in shares. This can be through margin loans. So all these are good because it is tied to an asset that can actually appreciate in value, okay? And the interest you're paying on this debt is actually tax deductible. So what that means is that for any future earning potential, that earning potential can increase, because with the tax deductible debt, it means that, let's assume it's 8%, you only end up paying about 6% in returns. But if I was to relate this to, for example, mortgage rates right now, mortgage rates are anything about from 5 to 7%. Okay, while the long-term market returns, especially just using the S&P 500 as an example, have been about 7 to 10 returns. So all of a sudden, there's that 2% cushion, even without the tax deductibility that you can benefit from over the long term. Investing with debt can actually be a good thing, but you need to understand and be comfortable with debt. While as bad debt, so high interest debt, as I said earlier on, debt on credit cards, payday loans, all those should be prioritized, and all those should be repaid before starting to invest. So I think the key thing with this myth straight away is the type of debt really matters, and your bad debt are the ones that you really want to get rid of a lot quicker. Some interest. So the interest rate on some loans can be anything from about 50 to 20%. That's really significant, because there are very few investments that will give you those returns on a year-by-year basis. Or even if you take that over a 7-10-year period, that can be very challenging to get opportunities to go past that return. So you want to clear out bad debt as soon as you can. And I think one of the also key points there in terms of why you don't need to pay off all your debt before you start investing is because of the opportunity cost. Okay, so there's an opportunity cost, just relating it back to those interest rates I spoke about before. Now, that 2%, if you're not getting that now, that's an opportunity cost. So if your money is going towards paying down good debt or paying down smart debt rather than being invested, you are losing that 2%. Okay, so there's a huge opportunity cost in terms of paying down the smart debt or good debt you have. Just to give you that in numbers as well, for example, if you start investing, if you invested $5,000 and that gave you 7% over a 10-year period, you would end up with about $70,000 over that 10-year period, and assuming you're getting 7%. But then by delaying that, because you chose to then clear off your debt and only starting to invest 5 years later with the same percentage and with the same amount that you would have invested $5,000, you only end up with about $29,000. So there's a huge difference there, and that's the opportunity cost. So obviously doing things in a long period of time, or rather using several years, can actually just show you what that looks like. While as if people are looking at things over 1 or 2 years, they might not actually see what that opportunity cost looks like. So I think with debt, and just what are the best ways to handle this as well, is just coming up with a few strategies. So you want to prioritize extra payments towards the high interest debt. You want to start investing with small amounts, even if it's into the low cost index funds or just something simple, and then that way it can actually benefit you down the track. I think one other thing that I am such a huge preacher for lack of a better word, is automating those debt repayments and automating the investments as well. So that way you don't have to think about it, because you're actually giving yourself some emotional, some decision fatigue if you have to think about every time, should I pay off the debt? Should I invest? It gets a little bit strenuous. While as if you just automate that and review on a periodic basis, that would actually help you ensure that you are sticking to the plan and doing what is right for you. So with this myth as well, I think a few things are really important to consider, because not everyone can actually maintain the ups and downs that come with a high risk tolerance. So ensuring you understand your risk tolerance in terms of investing, and obviously debt management is very important because you don't want to be giving yourself lots of emotional stress. Even though it's a good financial decision, there might be a better financial decision that actually balances both out for you. Another thing as well is just having emergency funds, before investing, because obviously if you had emergency funds, you would not run into the problem of having bad debt. So, but it's key to understand that before investing, you want to ensure you have enough emergency funds. And, these also help you ensure that you're not putting yourself in a position where you are then going to get out some bad debt because you need some funds urgently. And I think one of the key things as well, or another key consideration, is how close are you to retirement? Because that's a important thing where, okay, you might have to prioritize clearing down all your debt or utilizing things like your superannuation account that would get you into a position where you're growing your money in the right place and not just investing outside. Okay, so I think the key takeaway from this is you don't have to be entirely debt-free to invest. Okay, so it really comes down to balancing debt repayments and also investing, because there are certain situations, as discussed before, where you can do both, and there are certain situations where you should fully clear down any debt you have, or there are certain situations where you should fully just be investing in funds, even though you have some debt to be paid off. Okay, so the fifth myth really talks about it's too late for me to start investing. And I know many people may feel like they've missed that boat, especially if you're not in your 20s and 30s. And then they'll feel like, oh, well, it's no longer worth it. I think a few things there. Compounding can still work in your favor, even if you start late, okay? Because what it just means is you're not going to get as much compounding, but you're still going to get something. So I think one of the key points there for people who think it's too late is, even though it's later than you want it to be, compounding still works in your favor. And, just to give you an example, let's say you had $50,000 at age 50 with a 7% annual return, that can grow to about $100,000 by age 30. By age 60. So still not a lot of growth, but it's still better than not having any growth as well. I think some of the tailored strategies for latecomers as well is just focus on contributions within that available time frame, okay? And that's important because it just means that you may have to put a little bit more than you expected over that period versus less. And either way, that still helps because you're usually saving or investing towards a goal. And if that helps you get to your goal, as I said, better late than never, or better getting there than actually never getting there. So I think the key takeaway from is it too late? Yes, it might be late, but it's never too late to actually just start investing. And I think one thing with this myth as well, it often holds you back. And what happens is you keep making it later than you should. Okay, while as if you actually just started and actually chose, I think key thing there as well is the risk profile. Chose the right risk profile, and you don't take too much risk. You'll be in a lot better situation than if you actually did nothing. Okay, so this part really talks about the key questions which prospects ask me. And I think one of the first ones straight away is, how do I start investing? And I think it's very easy. You just need to have a goal. You need to determine your risk profile. And then you need to determine what investment options you can actually start investing. I think the thing about that question as well is different personal values and different long-term goals. So it's understanding which one actually suits you as well. So, but that's one of the questions prospects ask me. Another one prospects ask me is, what are the costs involved? Okay, so, and generally there are three types of costs involved. I call them, the project fee to actually get started, and then there's an ongoing fee, and then sometimes there's just a consult fee that is involved with getting financial advice. And another one is, what services do we offer? Okay, so generally what we do then is just explain the advice process and then explain at what different life stage people might need different types of advice. But what is most important, or what I see that is most important to clients, is pinpointing what you need versus saying, oh, we do this and this and that, and not actually giving you what is the best value for you. Okay, so another question prospects ask me is, what services do we offer? And look, we offer a broad range of services for financial planning, and generally explaining the advice process and how we help different people in different life stages can actually give those prospects a lot more context as to what we do, But just to name a few, we help with spending plans, how should you be spending your money? How should you break that down? We help with things like debt recycling, setting up SMSFs. We help with retirement. Those are just a few things we help. One of the most important things is just understanding how we can help that client and explaining that to them. Because if someone is not in a position to retire, speaking about retirement planning just means nothing to them until they are at that point in time. Another question that I get asked is, what's the best investment? Which is, it's a very valid question. However, there is no best investment straight away. Like even when I read The Intelligent Investor, it talks about how I think Benjamin Graham or Warren Buffett would do something totally different from another guy that was doing something else in terms of investment strategies, but they all got the same returns after a few decades. So I think there is no best investment strategy. I think, just going back to the first level principles of diversifying, ensuring you're working towards a time frame and, not focusing on gambling, which is putting all your eggs into one basket. Those are the key things to ensure that you get to your goal or objectives. Because I think for most people, the goal or the objective is to have a nice life, take care of the kids, or buy a house versus making the most returns in the world. Another one is, can I keep my shares or focus solely on my business? And usually this one comes from business owners who think that, look, they'll just keep growing the business and everything would be fine. I think key things there is to ensure that, okay, you consider a few things when you're actually thinking about growing the business or not. Generally, with growing a business, there might be an added level of stress, which you do not want to, will I say, burden or take on at that point in time. And you might also be in a position where you need to diversify away from the business because the business is very concentrated. So there are quite a few layers there for people to think about, and it's not just a very straight answer. So it's going through the process with them to understand a few things and then go from there. Okay, so the next part is talking about the top five questions which clients ask me, and I think this is quite important as well because many people might be thinking about this. So the first one is, how can I improve my portfolio's performance? And generally, we get this a lot where someone has chosen a risk profile and you're hearing something else in the market, and then what is in the market is actually giving them a lot more returns, and that's just because of the risk profile. It actually works in the other way as well, where now the market is down, and your portfolio is not down, and then you're happy. So it's balancing that and really connecting it to the goals or objectives which they have. So another question is, what changes should I make during market volatility? Which I think is a very key question. So I got lots of those during COVID when people were a little bit stressed as to, okay, what's going on? Should we do anything? Should we not do anything? The key thing there is really staying invested, So for clients that didn't have more money, it's like staying invested. We don't want to go in and out because of you just panicking. We want to go in and out because it makes sense. And the other part as well was just dollar cost averaging. So we just keep going for the clients that still had the funds and we had to invest. And the last part as well was just revisiting long-term goals to ensure that, we're not just reacting emotionally, but we're really focused on, okay, why have we done this and what is that going to help with? And next question as well, should I be investing more in my business, which is really relates to one of the ones prospects asked me as well. There's a key concept there about return on equity, and literally that's what you're getting from the business, which is, other words, the investment. The return on the total equity in business. You can compare that to whatever return you can potentially get in the market. And if the market can give you a lot more, then it might be a good time then to start focusing on investing outside the business. Another question prospects ask me is, okay, what else can we do? This is usually when they've seen huge improvements in their portfolios or in just the way they are doing things, and they're like, okay, what else can we do? And generally, we then discuss if those goals have changed, and if not, it might just be giving it a little bit more time to get to the next stage, because you don't want to start doing too many things at once. I'm yet to see clients where there isn't something else we can be doing, but for very few clients, especially clients close to that financial legacy stage, it's like, well, we're doing everything we can, and it's literally just ensuring we are sticking to the long-term goals. And one of the other questions which current clients ask me is, are they missing any other opportunities? And, this is where we might pull in other professionals to actually help us to ensure everything else is covered. Like, do we have a good accountant who is helping them maximize any other tax strategies that they have? Have we spoken to an estate lawyer to ensure that all those aspects are sorted out for them as well? So it's really working with other professionals, because we cannot do everything. We always call ourselves the generalist specialist, but we definitely have to pull people in from time to time to help with a certain aspect that is more in-depth. I think just a key thing there in terms of making people understand, okay, what is my investment philosophy, or how do we help clients? Because investment does play a huge part in ensuring people get into their goals or objectives. Is generally we're very conservative with the amounts we're investing. That really allows flexibility for us to take opportunities if new opportunities come by. I think being conservative as well with the timeframes involved. So, if we think we're going to get to a goal in 7 years, how about we just give it an extra year just in case? However, the one time we're very aggressive is with strategies and decision making. So there's strategies out there that we can be putting in place, and we should always make a decision every time and not just sit on things and, and just procrastinate. Okay. So that is all we have for you today in this section. I know this section covered a few parts here and there, but I think it's just really important for you to then know, what the prospect thinks, what the clients think, and what are the myths which we can help you debunk as well. So follow and like for more educational content, and please put in any questions which you want us to answer as well in future episodes.